Record this just because there might be some people absent, and I was going to do it in my last class and I didn't. But if you want to look at this, you can a little bit later. Figure this as part of your review for the test. I'm just going to go through a few of these problems, not all of them, but let's go through a few of them. Let's start with number 1. This is, let's write this down. This is page 985. Not number, but what do we call it? Lesson 8.3, right? And we're going to do number 1 right now. Alright, so let's take a look. What we have is, it looks like we have a square, right? We have a diagonal in that square from this corner to this corner. They tell you, now, how do you know it's a square? Because all 4 sides are marked equal. And they believe, yep, they have a right angle. So that's definitely a square. You've got a diagonal. And what else do they tell you? They tell you the length of that diagonal is 13 square root of 2. And they ask you to find this angle right here. We'll call that x. And they ask you to find this side right here. We'll call that y. Alright, let's take a look. First of all, this is, if you looked at section 8.3, now this is what you should have done. I asked my other class, not one person in the other class, and my feeling is I might get the same response in here, okay? But did anybody look at section 8.3, look at it and say, man, I forget how to do that stuff, so I'll go to YouTube and watch a YouTube video. So Abby, you did that? Okay, so I got out of 2 classes, I have 1 person that actually did that. That should be one of your first options to go. Okay, another option to be looking your notes on section 8.3, look in the book on section 8.3. I guess you could get somebody to help you. But look, before you ask for help, try to help yourself, right? Go to the video, watch the lesson. You don't have to watch every second of it. You can just skim forward until I get to the good stuff, right? And see what it's going to show you. What would it have shown you? It would have shown you this. That the hypotenuse, by the way, look at this triangle right here. It's a right triangle because it's a square. These 2 sides are equal, so tell me something about the angles right away. They're equal to each other, that's right. They're equal to each other because this is 90, right? These 2 sides are equal, so the opposite angles are equal. We've talked about that a long time ago. So if they're both equal to each other, what's the degree? 45 degrees, right? So what kind of a triangle do we have? We have a 45, 45, 90. We've done a lot of work with 45, 45, 90 triangles. The reason we learn these special triangles is to make it easier for you. And some of you guys just don't accept the fact that it makes it easier. It really does. So look, that's 45 and that's 45. What do we know about it? We know the hypotenuse is equal to, do you remember the little rule for 45, 45, 90 triangles? If you don't, you have to because it's going to be on the test. You need to remember the rules. It's the square root of 2 times one of the legs. That's right. All right? This is one of the legs. All right? That's what we learned. So we already found x. That was easy, 45 degrees. Now we have to find either. Now look, all 4 of these sides are the same, aren't they? All right? So it doesn't matter which side we find. This is going to be the same thing. So look, this is one of the legs right here, isn't it? So how do we find it? What do we know first of all? We know the hypotenuse, which is 13 square root of 2. How do I find the leg? How do I get that by itself? Divide by the square root of 2, divide that by the square root of 2. So, watch how easy it is. And again, some people are flipping out because they see a square root. Don't let that scare you. This works out really easy, tell you the truth. Somebody in the other class, a girl in the other class said, well, if it didn't have the square root on here, I probably could have done it. It actually makes it easier having the square root. That scared her off right away. As soon as she saw that square root, she's like, oh, I can't do that. It's got a square root. All right? But look, it makes it easier on this particular problem because what do we have to do? Divide by the square root of 2. Look, would you agree? That made it really simple because what happens? They cancel out. That's right. And what's my answer? It's just 13. So the leg is 13. So x is 45. If this leg is 13, what's y? It's 13 because that's one of the legs of the triangle, okay? Or one of the sides of the square, however you want to look at it. That was a lot easier than when it first appeared. Don't you agree? Yeah, I think so. That was pretty simple. You just have to think a little bit. You got to go back. You got to open up your book, open up your notes, put on the computer and watch something that's going to teach you something instead of Twittering and Facebooking and IMing and whatever you do. What's the other thing where you talk to each other? Yeah, Uvu and what's the other one? Skype each other. My son's walking around the house talking to somebody and Skyping, right? And so he goes to all the rooms. This is our living room. This is our kitchen. No, there's my dad. I'm watching. Hi, who is this? I don't know who it is. I'm waving and talking to him on the thing. So and then 10:30 at night, he's like, "Do you have a geometry book?" I was like, because he's in my 4th period class. I was like, 10:30 at night, you're gonna work on your homework, and you've been doing this all night, So, oh goodness. So anyway, let's do another one. Let's take a look. I'm not going to do all these because we're running out of time, but number 6, okay, we'll do number 6. Because we already did a 45-45. Guys, let's listen now. We already did a 45-45. Let's do a 30-60-90. You guys pay attention? Blake, Noonan. All right, this is the last one of this section. Let's pay attention. Blake, I'm serious. Next step is SLD. This is 12 squared to 3. Then this is 30 degrees. 60 x and y. Okay, so this is x, this is y, and this is 60. And what else? They tell you that that's a right angle. They tell you that this side is equal to this side. And they tell you all kinds of stuff, don't they? Look at that. Full of information on this. So let's see what we want to try to do. We're trying to solve for x and y. Agreed? Look what kind of triangles we have here. This is a right angle, by the way. If this is 30, this is 90. What's this up here? That's 60. Okay, if this is 60 and this is 90, what's this one down here? It's 30. Okay, look at it. I've got a side, an angle, and a side. Look, I've got 2 tick marks. I got a 60, and I got 1 tick mark. Everybody see that? I got 2, I got a 60, and I got a 1 right here. So they're congruent triangles, aren't they? Make sense? So let's think about this. Let's use this triangle down here since I already have the x and the y down here. If this is 12 squared to 3, what do you think this is right here? Yeah, because look, that's got 2 tick marks, this got 2 tick marks. It really doesn't even matter that we recognize they're congruent triangles, does it? This side is equal to this side, so that's 12 square root of 3. Now we have to remember something. That was really, as far as this picture goes, that's all I'm using that top triangle for. Is just to understand that this side right here is 12 squared to 3. That's about it. All right. Now I can just stick with this triangle down here on the bottom. I don't even have to worry about this one up top. But we have to remember a couple things. We just talked about 45-45. This is 30-60-90. There's 2 things we remember about this. Well, we're supposed to remember anyway. The hypotenuse is what? Good. It's 2 times the short side. All right. And what's the other one? The long side is, do you remember the number there? That's the one that's hardest to remember. Square root of 3, right. It's the square root of 3 times the short side. Everybody with me on that? You have to memorize that. There's no way around it. All right, so when we have the test, that needs to be memorized if you're going to use these things. So let's do this first. The short side is the important side, isn't it? Which one of these is the short side? Is it x or y? How do you know it's y? Just because it looks like it?
No, because it's opposite.
It's opposite the 30. That's right. It's opposite the smaller angle, so it's the shortest side. Everybody get it? Okay, so let's find that first. Well, I know the hypotenuse, don't I? How do I get the short side? Divide by 2. So I just take 12 squared of 3 divided by 2. That's easy. What's that going to be? That's it. 6 squared of 3. That's how we write our answer. So that would be 6 square root of 3. That's what y is equal to. See how easy that was? Took the hypotenuse, divided it by 2, because the hypotenuse is twice as big as this. So we take half of it and we get the shorter side. Now look, once we get the short side, then it's piece of cake after that. Now I can solve for this. If I know the short side, how do I get the long side? That's it. Multiply by square root of 3. All right. Now you may not be able to do that in your head. I don't know. So here's the short side. What do we do to the short side? Multiply it by, that's right. Multiply it by square root of 3. What's the square root of 3 times the square root of 3?
3.
Just plain old 3, isn't it? All right. We talked about this earlier. And then 3 times 6, I'll write it like this. Watch. 6 times 3 is what? 18. And that's what x is, and you're done. That's 18. That's 6 squared root of 3. That's your answer. What do you think? It's pretty simple, isn't it? The picture looked crazy, didn't it? It looked kind of daunting, right? It looked a little scary. But the only thing we did was take this side. We said, oh, that's equal to this side right here, so we'll just stick a 12 squared to 3 here. All right? And then you just solve for x and y, 30, 60, 90. You're good to go. And look, I got nice exact answers. Came out perfect. Make sense? Yes.
Can you read the answers for the other?
Yeah, I'll read off the answers to the other ones.